This is part three of the Northern Ontario Leaders Debate, where we will be giving commentary and watching this debate from beginning to end. And we're going to pick up where we left off from part two. Let's get going. The footage is brought to you by CTV. Do not come after me for plagiarism. Let's begin.
Continuing with a focus on the mining sector, the municipal sector recognizes that complexities associated with the development of the Ring of Fire project. Extensive consultation with Indigenous communities needs to take place, while also ensuring significant infrastructure decisions are based on sound decision-making principles. The magnitude of the Ring of Fire and the socio-economic benefits that will be felt throughout the province cannot be understated. Yet the process and time it takes for mining companies to be granted approvals to open a mine in Ontario continues to be a lengthy red tape approach. The question, what would be your government's plan to move the Ring of Fire project forward during the first 100 days?
By the way, I respect a man who wears a bow tie in public. That is boss. I'm sorry, I just have to say that. But question, what will you do to get the Ring of Fire moving, the construction, the development moving without all the red tape? Let's hear it.
Starting with Ms. Wynne.
Well, thank you very much for that question. When I first flew into Webequie First Nation, which is one of the 9 Matawa First Nations, as you know, and I was the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs at the time, and we were talking about building the road, building the infrastructure, and I realized as we flew in that we were really talking about building a series of bridges, building a causeway, because there's so much water. It's this web of water and small strips of land.
Sounds like Louisiana.
And so worked with that community, because one of the issues, as you all know, is that there need to be, in order for the Ring of Fire project to go forward, there need to be social supports, there need to be people who are ready to be able to take part in that economic development. And I made a commitment to you 4 years ago that we would get to the point by the time this term was ended that we would have an agreement and we would be moving forward with the infrastructure. That has happened, and that's what the companies were looking for. That is what the mining companies were looking for. We have an agreement with 3 communities, Webequie, Nibinamik, and Martin Falls. The building of that infrastructure is starting. The planning is starting, and shovels will be in the ground within the next few months. That work that we have done it means that we're going to get this right. We're going to work with the companies, and we are working with the companies and with First Nations to make sure that the degradation of the environment that has happened in the past, the neglect of First Nations communities in terms of their ability to be part of the economic development won't happen, because they are part of the process. And so that $60 billion worth of minerals that's in the ground, we'll get it out, but we'll get it out in the right way, and the companies are working with us, and they're very pleased that the infrastructure is going ahead.
Well, that wasn't the question, though, Wynne. The question was, how are you going to get mines started again? How is it going to be easier for the Ring of Fire to be, worked on, for mines to get started again? Because as the guy with the bow tie, my man with that bow tie, said, that when the Ring of Fire is in full force, I mean, the benefits are unimaginable. You're talking about infrastructure, and that's one thing I will say about Kathleen Wynne. I gotta say, infrastructure, she's done all right. She's built all kind of stuff, but that's not the question. We have to get these mines going again, and under your premiership, mines have closed. And people have lost their jobs thanks to the Green Energy Act, carbon taxes, all sorts of other red tape and regulations, which Andrea Horwath has supported for the most part.
Thank you. Ms. Horwath?
Thanks. There's no doubt that there's been a great deal of frustration over the hold-up in terms of getting to ensure that the mining is able to occur in the Ring of Fire, that the minerals are actually mined and they're coming out of the ground. And so we would be absolutely making sure that the $1 billion that we committed to last campaign is invested in building the infrastructure necessary with community agreements to ensure that folks get the best benefit and that communities are able to connect into that infrastructure as well. But let's not forget, we also want to keep the jobs in Ontario in the north when it comes to the minerals that are pulled out of the ground. So we want to make sure that the ferrochrome smelter is located in one of your communities. We want to make sure that people get decent jobs out of those minerals. And with the electricity system that we have and the cost of electricity that both of these two parties favor, a privatized Hydro One, where rates are through the roof and businesses are having a difficult time making a go of it in this province, that's the other piece we're going to work on, Al. We are going to bring Hydro One back into public hands, have it working for your communities, for the business community, for everyday families, instead of having the individual shareholders or the wealthiest amongst us making all kinds of profits over our hydro system. And I do want to say at this point, thank you so much for your leadership, particularly NOMA, but other municipalities around the north brought a number of resolutions forward during that terrible time when this government, the Wynne government, was privatizing Hydro One. You knew it was the wrong thing to do. You brought resolutions forward. We stood with you in that regard. And unlike Mr. Ford and unlike Ms. Wynne, we're going to turn that around again and make sure that our electricity system operates in the benefit of your communities, of the people you serve, and of the entire province of Ontario.
Okay, shut up now. So she likes to talk about Hydro One and private and privatizing this and that. Okay. Look, Hydro One being privatized, yes, it's a problem in this sense. It's a problem in the sense that they have privatized a big fat monopoly, or close to a monopoly. I mean, Hydro One is almost, or if not already, a monopoly. And you can't privatize a monopoly. In fact, you can't have a monopoly to begin with. But a private one would make the prices just skyrocket. But having Hydro One privatized is not such a bad thing if there's competition. In fact, it would actually lower the hydro rates. What the problem is the Green Energy Act. And the Green Energy Act is what has caused our hydro rates to skyrocket, which you supported along with Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals. That's why you're a puppet of the Liberals, Andrew Horwath. The PCs did not support the Green Energy Act.
Thank you. Mr. Ford.
And they're clapping for me again.
For years, all we've heard is talk. No action whatsoever. We're going to work with the people of the North. We're going to work with the First Nations. We're going to respect the treaties that are in place right now, but we aren't going to talk. We're going to get in there after everyone agrees. We're going to go in there and start mining. My dad always used to say, you have a gold mine, let's start mining. We have a gold mine with minerals up there, but it's just talk. You know why, my friends? They have to keep their friends happy. They have to keep the extremists, the environmentalists, they have to keep them happy.
Got to get them happy. Got to get them paid.
The same when you look at the Liberals and NDP. We actually have solutions. We believe in resource revenue sharing. So any mining or forestry that comes out of the north, right now, it goes down to Queen's Park. It's not going to happen under my watch. Those revenues are going to stay here in the north.
So what I would say to that is that, yes, that's good that they stay in the north, but I think those revenues should actually be divvied up and given to each and every Ontarian in the form of a basic income. I don't think any bureaucracy should be taking that money. I mean, you can't just take it from one bureaucracy and give it to another bureaucracy, even though it comes from that area. I think all those revenues from those natural resources and those fossil fuels and mines and all that stuff, it should be divvied up and given to each and every Ontarian. Since it's the people, it comes from Ontario, it comes from the ground. This is our province, so we should take that revenue in the form of a basic income instead of giving it to municipal governments or the provincial governments. But I do agree that we need to start digging in the ground and taking advantage of our natural resources. And I think we need to bring coal back, clean coal, instead of having the coal companies go to other countries and they probably spew even more carbon and dig up more ground and there's no consequences or less consequences. Let's bring them back here, regulate them, tell them to plant trees and clean up their act. But we can't just tell them that you're not going to be able to work here and that's it. No. I disagree with that. We need to bring back coal and make it clean coal.
believe in letting the people of the North decide what they should do with their revenues. We have a great candidate, Chief Clifford Bull. We have Ross Romano here, Norm Miller. We have an all-star crew up in the North that will represent you. You will have a very, very loud voice. It's not a coincidence, my friends. I've been up here numerous times. I've been up in the North more than I've been anywhere in Ontario. I love the people of the North. I'm listening to them.
And they love you, I think.
My two friends here to the left, the North has been ignored. They're more worried about the Toronto elites, downtown Toronto elites, than they worry about the hard-working people.
Preach, brother! Preach, brother!
So let me just say, Doug, if you don't think that resource revenue sharing and respecting treaties and respecting everyone who lives in communities takes talk, then I got another thing for you. Because talk and conversation and respectful dialogue
What's
about
with the attitude?
The relationships that have to be established.
You haven't done anything for Ontario.
Do things differently than we have done in the past, and I acknowledge the conversation.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, the infrastructure I will give her points on, but when it comes to these mines up in the North, don't even go there.
Around the Ring of Fire with companies and with First Nations, it has taken time, but we are doing it in a way that is going to ensure that everyone who has the opportunity to benefit is actually going to benefit. And I just want to say something about electricity prices. Again, it was this group of people, representatives from the North, who worked with us, and through Michael Gravel and through Bill Morrow and at the time David Orazzetti and Glenn Thibault, we have made the Northern Industrial Energy Plan program permanent because we recognize that there are unique challenges in the North, and the decision around the processor will be made by the companies. But the bottom line for us is we've got to get that infrastructure built because it will be good for the Ring of Fire, and it's needed for the Ring of Fire. It's also needed for the communities. We're dealing with climate change. We're dealing with the reality that we need all-weather roads. The winter roads don't stay in as long as they used to. You all know that.
I want everybody to like this video if your ears bleed every time you listen to Kathleen Wynne speak. Like that video right there.
And so that community infrastructure is very, very important for economic development, but it's also important to the quality of life of the people who live in those communities so that that infrastructure can function as interconnectivity between the communities.
I think it's also important to recognize that that the communities near mines, whether we're talking about the Ring of Fire or anywhere else, need to be able to benefit over the long term economically from that activity. I can remember visiting not too long ago a mine in Dubreuilville, and afterwards went to White River and talked with the mayor there, and he was very worried because he knew there was opportunity for investment, but he can't get the infrastructure, in this case housing infrastructure, up and running to ensure that people are not going to be in temporary barracks over the life of the mine, and instead that the community is going to be able to benefit from permanent housing. But there were challenges around ensuring the infrastructure was available, ensuring the approvals were getting done quickly.
And like this video if you agree with me that Andrew Horwath is a puppet of the Liberals.
So that they could start building permanent housing. That's the kind of foresight that we need when we talk about the development of our resource sector, mining or otherwise, is to make sure that communities have opportunity to grow again, that economic development is a benefit for the longer run, and that opportunity and young people can come back to smaller towns and make them vibrant once again.
I guess my time ran out then.
Dang. You see, man, this is so old-fashioned.
Folks, help is on its way, okay? Help is on its way.
Man, this is so old-fashioned. They have bells and pieces of paper to keep track of the time.
Healthcare is a provincial responsibility, yet municipalities continue to invest limited and stretched local taxpayer dollars into healthcare, either directly or indirectly. Whether it's contributing to local hospitals, paying a portion of the cost to transport patients from one hospital to another for tests or care, as well as investing in the recruitment of physicians.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, and we will continue with part 4 momentarily.